Hey, thanks for coming. Really appreciate your stopping by this morning, especially after last night. So I'm going to talk about data import magic. I'm Rich Spitz. I'm a Salesforce certified administrator, also run the Westchester user group. So let's get right into it. Of course, we have to do the forward-looking statement. I wish I had some forward-looking news for you, but unfortunately, it's going to be just what's in the current product, so you don't have to worry about future purchasing decisions. Okay, let's talk about the three options. And there are more options than what I'm presenting, but I'm just going to cover the three basic ones. So the Import Wizard is a tool that's built into Salesforce that comes with it, pretty easy to use. Another is the DataLoader, which is formerly known as the Apex DataLoader, a downloadable tool. And I'm going to give you demos and samples of all these so you can step through and see how they work in action. And then DataLoader IO, which is a product from MuleSoft, recently acquired by Salesforce, and we'll cover that as well. Okay, so a little bit background. And again, there are other tools that do imports, but I'm just going to focus on these three and compare them to each other. So the thing about the Import Wizard is that it's built into Salesforce, nothing to add on load, nothing to download, and it works the same in Classic or in Lightning. So this demo will apply to either situation. And it's really good on handling small and simple imports. One of the really nice features is that it catches duplicates. So if you're trying to import a data set that you don't know if it has duplicates, the Import Wizard is a really nice tool for that. And another big benefit is that it's a one-pass import, meaning you have one file with both contacts and accounts. You can import that in one pass compared to the other tools, which are a little bit different. Okay, so let's see it in action. I hope. Okay, so, sorry. Sorry. Okay. All right, here we go. Sorry. So I'm going to go to the data object. This is Lightning, and I'm going to select the Data Import Wizard to start with. And what we're going to see here is they outline the steps for you, the preparation, the importing, and the editing of the fields. So we're going to launch this wizard, and I'm going to step you through how to import a simple 10-record sample set. So you have some options, accounts and leads. So what we're going to do is accounts, and we have three options here of adding new records or updating. And we're going to add new records here. Now we have some options in terms of matching criteria that are pretty basic but helpful. So you can either match the contact by name or email, and then you can match the account by name and site. Again, you have some more options here about triggering workflows or not, and then also whether or not you want to sign campaigns. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose a file. We're going to choose a simple CSV file that I've created. And we're going to open that file. So now we've sort of prepped this and we're ready to go here. We'll move on to the next step, and we have to do some mapping. You'll see this in all three products that we're going to look at, and really what you have to do is say what's the name of the field on your input file, and then what's the name of the Salesforce field that you're doing. So in this case, we're going to map to owner. We'll pick the account record owner. So you see here we have 5 import files. So once we do the mapping, everything's all lined up. Nice thing on the side, we can see a preview. This is a really cool thing, that you see what your data is before you actually import it, and you see if your field names are correct. So once you have it lined up, you can go next. And we see we're ready to start our import. So we have the accounts and contacts, we get new records, and the file. We've already mapped all our fields, 5 mapped, no unmapped, and now we're ready to rock and roll. And boom, your import is started. It's pretty quick. It's 10 records. We'll hit OK, and we'll see that import. So the result of this is it's a bulk data load. Don't let that title scare you. It's just a record keeping of the transactions in the log. It shows you had completed a batch. It was 100%, and it was 10 records completed. So that's an example of the simple import wizard. I know I went fast, but we got a lot to cover. All right, and also you have a log of what object it filled out, your start date, and the number of records that were created. Now let's turn our attention to the DataLoader, which was Apex DataLoader. Formerly it didn't work on the Mac, but now it's Mac and PC compliant. But it does need to be downloaded, which is pretty quick and easy. And it does one object at a time. Again, trying to point out some differences between the products. Can access a lot more objects than the import wizard, which is a good thing, and it's really better for larger jobs. At the end of this, I'll show you a comparison of those 3 products and what the limits are. Okay, a couple of things to remember about DataLoader that are important. One is the addresses. You might have to do some tweaking on the addresses. It doesn't split address 1 and address 2. And it works off of record IDs. Hopefully you're all admins. You'll know what record IDs are. You'll know the value. And you have to use those record IDs in terms of your importing and your logic. Also, it doesn't care about workflow, meaning you have to. If you have workflows that do something on when a record is created and you need to turn that off, then you need to turn it off separately from your import. Okay, so now hopefully we'll look at the DataLoader. Okay, so we're going to select the DataLoader, and we'll see we have some more options here. We have update, insert, upsert, and export. So you don't have all those in the wizard. We're going to log into our org, username, password, standard stuff. And then we're going to allow access to DataLoader. Okay, so we're going to load this in production. We've logged in, and now you see that there's a number of objects, but there's also a lot more objects you can select from. So we're going to do a simple 2-pass import, first with accounts and then with contacts. All right. So it's telling us we have 10 records. Again, we have to go through the mapping exercise, which says we're going to create a map, and we can use this feature that says auto match. So if the names are close or similar, it's going to try best job to do the matching. So first pass, we're just going to import the new account names with that owner ID. And second pass, we'll do the contact records. Again, 2-pass import. Okay, so we've mapped those fields out, ready to rock and roll. We'll hit next. This is just where you want to store if there's an error or a success message. And we're ready to roll. Okay, so there we imported 10 records, and we can view the successes or the errors. And here are the successes. Note it automatically assigns a new account ID for all those records. And now we can use those account IDs to do our contact level import. Okay, so next we're going to do second pass, which we're going to select contacts. Again, we're going to use, in this case, the file that's a success file because that has the IDs. So you don't have to go back to Salesforce, write a report. You can just use the success file, which has 10 records. Now, again, we're going to do a contact map. And this contact map, again, will auto-match. And what we have to do is we have to match the ID to the account ID. So you see there's account name, but we're really not going to use that. We're going to use the account ID to match with ID. So this says that all of the records, when they get sucked in, they get connected to the right account. So this is critical to getting this to work correctly. Okay, so we have this all set up, and then we're going to finish and import our new records. Oh, what happened? We only had 9 successes. Why did we get an error? Well, let's view the error and see what happened. Okay, so what happened was Ashton didn't have a complete email addresses. So everybody should know that Salesforce is going to reject an email address that doesn't have the right syntax. So this didn't have a .com, so it rejected it, and that's why it didn't import that. So you might be saying, well, what happened that the import wizard didn't tell us that? So let's look at that in a sec. So the question you might be asking, hopefully, is why didn't we see that error? Well, we actually did, but we need to dive deeper into the log that says we created 10 accounts, but we only created 9 contacts. And we couldn't import these due to an error, and here's the error. So the lesson is you have to look carefully and you have to check your work to see that your import's complete and they complete correctly. All right, now we're going to look at the third product, or third tool, which is Dataloader IO, part of MuleSoft. I don't know the future of this product. Tried to ask, but nobody seems to know yet. But hopefully it'll stay in the Salesforce family. Let's look at this tool. So this is an online tool. It's not. There's nothing to download. It's all web-based, cloud-based. Like the other DataLoader, can access almost every object. And it's free. There's actually multiple versions of Dataloader IO. There's a paid version that gives you more records and more functionality, but the free version is pretty damn good. Offers a FTP option and also works with Dropbox and box support. So those are great for exporting and saving to one of those other options. Okay, so let's look at how Dataloader IO works. So again, we're going to log into Salesforce. You just go to dataloaderio.com and you're off to the races. So we're going to log in. We can see they have imports, exports, also deletes. And we're going to create a new task. And this time, again, we're going to go through a similar exercise in importing accounts first and then contacts. So we're going to select the account, and then we're going to upload our lovely import test CSV file. And again, we have to go through the mapping, so this is something you've seen before. We're going to do the owner name. Now what's good here is we don't need IDs in this product, which is a really terrific thing. What we have the ability to do is look up the IDs via a particular field. In this case, in the user object, I'm using the full name field in the user object, Bruce Lee, to look up his ID. So we don't need to know his ID before doing the import. So this is a huge time saver. All right, so we're going to import those 10 records, 10 account records into our account object, and we see we have 10 successes. Next, we're going to do similar. We're going to go to the contact record, contact object, grab that, and this time we can use the same import test. Again, we don't need IDs to match up with, so it's automatically going to match last name, first name. The owner ID, again, will do the same lookup with his full name, but here in the account, instead of having to know the account ID, we can select account ID and then look up via a field, which is the account name. So let's go ahead and do that import. We're going to import our 10 contact rows this time. click Save and Run, and then off to the races. In this time, we're going to do as we did before, and we're going to see that we have 9 successes. Again, we're going to get that same error that we got before. It comes up as a CSV, and it shows us that, again, our friend Ashton didn't have his correct email address, and that's why that didn't get imported. So this was an example of the 3 different import tools that you can use. And let me just do some summary now. So in comparison of the products, and I've mentioned some of these as we go along, so the number of records, again, depending upon what you're doing, and they all have different logic of how they're counting records. The data wizard will catch dupes, which is nice. There's more to come, so wait till the last slide is up. The options to turn off workflow, data import has that, the others don't, but the others have export capabilities as well. And the last set, import opportunities, which is a common thing that admins need to do. You can do that on the DataLoader products. And the last thing that I showed you was the dynamic lookups. That means you don't have to use the IDs. You can do a lookup and grab those IDs from that. You can grab the IDs from another data field. Okay? So I'd be neglectful if I didn't tell you that there are other import options that you could use, a lot of which are here. Jitterbit has a free data loader, which is pretty good, as does Informatica. And Demand Tools also has a product as well. Again, these tools are sort of freebies for larger products and products that have a lot more capabilities than just importing. So, and I encourage you to look at the whole set of data tools that are out there. Okay. And there's probably more as well. All right, so in conclusion, I just want to share that there's no one right tool. All of these tools have their own niche or niche, depending upon what you're saying. And all of them have really good functionality, as well as the 3 others that are out there that have a significantly larger data set. So I encourage you to explore, especially the ones I mentioned. They're all free. I would encourage you to test them out. Pick ones which are appropriate for your organization and your data import needs. And then happy importing. So I just want to thank you for coming. I appreciate you spending the time here. If anybody has any questions, I'm working the reports and dashboards booth right after this, or come up and see me. And thank you for stopping by. I hope you learned something.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay.
So, Rich, if you want to stay right there, we can actually, you can answer some questions. Yeah, you have a little more time than that, actually.
Okay, questions?
Questions.
Do you need modify all data privileges to use DataLoader IO?
Sorry.
Do you need modify all data privileges to use DataLoader IO?
You need to have access to the object, so it's not all data. It depends what, it's object by object. So if you want to import accounts, then you need access to the account object to modify those. So it's not like across the board. You can do it object by object.
Another question here.
Other questions?
Hi, here. Here.
It's right over here.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So when we are using the first option, we can we schedule a daily process to be executed?
So there's no scheduling. You want to schedule a daily process? Yeah, no, there's no scheduling in the import wizard. DataLoader IO does have a scheduler built in, and you can say, I want to import it every day at 8 a.m. or something.
The both DataLoader and the DataLoader IO we can schedule?
Not the data. The DataLoader IO definitely has a schedule. The DataLoader EXE, you have to do some batch line scheduling. I wouldn't recommend it. Go with DataLoader IO if you need a scheduler.
Okay, thank you.
There's another question right here.
Hey, great.
Hi, sorry, forgive me if I'm understanding incorrectly, but how exactly does the dynamic lookup work if you have a duplicate of let's say you're pulling from the account name? Sorry, can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
So how exactly does the dynamic lookup work if you have a duplicate of, let's say you're pulling the account name?
Yeah.
How would it pull that singular account
So
ID?
there's two, I went through it quickly, but there's two options on the dynamic lookup. So one says take the first record. So if you have two users named John Doe,
Yeah.
one option says take the first one it finds, and the other option says give me an error report for every time it finds multiple occurrences. So it'll spit out that error report, and then you can decide how to re-import or which is the correct field.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Question here.
Are you familiar with the Community Cloud?
With
Community Cloud.
Are you familiar with the Community Cloud?
No, sorry. Any other questions?
There's a question right here.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
Okay, hold on.
Fire away.
I didn't. I've just forgotten it now.
What's that? No. Okay, here's
Forgot.
one.
Just scratching your head. Okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Really nice.
No problem.
So if I want to upload a lot of files, which tool should I use? Not just the data, a lot of files. Because, I mean, we have one legacy system where we have attached a lot of files with the customer records. So I want to...
Sorry, what kind of... Sorry, I'm not clear what you're trying to upload.
So, for example, every customer has some kind of financial information. Those financial information is in different Excel files. So, for example...
okay. Yes. So, okay, in order to import files like Excel or PDF files, you can do the import, but you have to set up, you have to have like an account to link it to, and you have to know where you want to store it and how. So you can do an import like as an attachment, the DataLoader products, not the import products. So either one of those you can import into the file section.
We have time for more if people still have questions. Yeah, you thought of it? Great, here you go.
Thought of it.
Had a mind blank then.
No problem.
Can you configure the rules? So you know you've got the invalid email error that comes up.
Yes.
Can you add in your own ones based on the rules that you put in Salesforce? So say, for example, I don't like, some people put an email address in the telephone field. So we have rules on there that say numbers only.
So unfortunately, the email syntax is not configurable. So it will look for an @ sign and a period sign. That's the minimum requirements to get an email into the email field. But beyond that, you can't configure. So if there's a phone number, it won't find an @ sign.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when you're importing into the telephone field. So putting actual other rules. Can you configure DataLoader?
So no, you can't. You can't do an on-the-fly rule. Like if you have a validation rule that hits it afterwards and it doesn't meet it, then it's going to throw an error afterwards. But it's not an on-the-fly import that will take care of that. I wish it would. Make a suggestion.